Hello, welcome to Conscious Conversations. Elizabeth Lynch and myself, Tami Gingrow, have agreed to hold this space once monthly, the third Thursday of the month. It is a live conversation that people are invited to, and we have wonderful Macland here who's agreed to be with us today. The theme. Go ahead, you guys introduce yourself before I introduce the theme.
Yeah, I'm Elizabeth. I'm working with Tammy and others and friends to co-create an intentional community, and this is one of the ways of connecting with community members and also, being in a space of high frequency and love.
My name's Macklin. My wife and I have some acreage up in Jefferson County, and we've been working for a number of years to try and create community up there and be a part of communities elsewhere, and just really trying to see how we can help out to try to connect people of all anywhere you're at, because I think this is a really important time to do that. But yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. Yeah, so the whole purpose of conscious conversations is to bring up, themes and energies of the times that maybe were considered taboo or woo-woo or out of the box. But, this is where we are going as an evolutionary species. We're moving into a new aeon, and we've got to leave a lot behind in order to make space for what is new. So the themes for this month being February, now whenever you come to this, these themes are relevant, but with Valentine's Day, February has become a month of love. But we need to be in love all the time, every day, making a conscious choice to be falling madly, wildly in love with ourselves again and again, each and every day. And although love is a big February theme, we've got to switch from fear to love again as a species in order to raise the vibration to make these new earth timelines accessible. And
Here, while you're pausing there, something that's been coming up for me has been I'm learning how to think about, well, not think about, it is think about, but it's also active. It's a verb. I'm learning how to be a better love. And I don't just mean that in a romantic way, but like with friendships and with family and with everybody. I'm teaching myself and I'm learning how to show up and how to, um, I've been reading the book Everyday Love and just like showing up and being in a space of that openness and that loving kindness with everybody all the time. And I'm in practice with that. And I feel like historically I haven't been a very good friend and I haven't shown up. So it's something that I'm working on in my life right now.
beautiful. What comes up for you, Macklin?
Yeah, no, I would say I'm not very good at self love for the most part. I'm not someone who likes to do like self care routines, but that's definitely somewhat of a something I've been working on for sure. Like just going back to the gym and things like that. But also, yeah, the idea of showing up every day and being a good friend and being just reaching out regularly is something I really like to do. I like if I haven't talked to somebody for a while and they pop up on my feed or they pop in my mind, I really like to just reach out, whether I get a response or whether it's just a hey, how you doing? I just think it's very important because I like to treat everybody else as myself, right? Where I get a little insecure or I get a little sad when I don't talk to people regularly, if I'm not in communication and people aren't reaching out to me. So I like to try and do that as much as I can for other people. Yeah, whether it's just, hey, how you doing? I'm thinking about you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a goal for me too, is to learn to be more connected with more of the people that I care about. I'm about 50 to 60% introvert. As much as I love entertaining and gathering people together, I need a lot of time in nature to restore and alone time to restore my energies. And that's self-love too, recognizing that and allowing that space for ourselves. So one theme is love. The other theme is we're just 2 days past the start of the Lunar New Year, the Chinese New Year, going from the year of the wood snake into the year of the fire horse. And those are drastically different energies. So, and these astrological events, like if you're not super into astrology or you don't understand how it really does translate into our day-to-day lives, whether you are consciously acknowledging it or not, um, they impact us. So I have been wanting, I think in terms of astrology. I'm so grateful for the moment when I really discovered astrology. I will tell you, it was around 2015, and I was living on a 50-acre farm, and I was spending a lot of time on personal transformation and healing. And I was feeling so much energy, and I started to literally question, like, okay, I've always been a good healthy dose of crazy. I think sane people are boring. But I was like, am I just like ape shit crazy? Am I just like gone? And then I started getting these newsletters from Ingrid Mandari, a wonderful Kundalini teacher, telling the astrological transits. And I'm like, oh, hallelujah. There's a reason that I'm feeling these things. So for me, when you are tuned in, and you're receiving the energies because you're feeling them. We're energetic beings, and the planets are energetic spheres that are traveling around the sun with us, and that whole galaxy is traveling around in the great central sun. These spheres of energy have influence. They communicate and inform us directly if we're listening, and they communicate with each other. And then those transits and those conversations, are just constantly bringing in new light codes and new source codes. And this is extremely scientific. We have had higher levels of light streaming onto the planet than ever before. And these are informing us on a cellular level, for we are by our nature plasma light crystalline beings with 12-strand divine DNA. We're wired to be the conduit between the cosmos and the earth. So with all that, I wanted to talk about navigating these energies, integrating the energies, and allowing that ripple effect through love, and transforming it all through our heart, our energetic, eternal heart flame. For too long, we've been forced into analytical, logical, mental decision making. And in order to evolve, it is absolutely imperative that we once again marry the heart mind together, but really the heart, it's all filtered through the heart. We must become heart centered beings that are love. So, yes, love is a choice we make, whether we're talking about ourselves, our romantic partner. Love is a choice you get to make every day, again and again and again. And I think we're all transforming into being love. Anybody have any thoughts on all that bit?
Yeah, I just saw a quote the other day that really made me like, I already kind of knew this to a degree, but it really made me restructure my thinking and like really batten down the hatches. It was a financial advisor for really rich people was talking to someone, and they said millionaires will go to the doctor and they read the newspaper, but billionaires, they will use homeopathy and astrology. And if the people who have all of the money and all the knowledge or whatever it might be in the world are using these things, there must be a reason they're using them. You know what I mean? There must, and the fact that for tens of thousands of years, it was so hard to keep written knowledge and to keep these traditions alive other than oral, but they kept astrology and they kept homeopathy. They kept these ideas of working with the planet and the planet itself. And if it's not broke, why fix it, right?
Yeah.
That's so fun. Yeah, and for me, I don't know anything about astrology at all. But and that's one of the reasons why I really appreciate you sharing everything that you do, Tammy. But I feel it and it whomps me. And I'm super intuitive. And I feel energy, like I grew up feeling energy as a child, and I just have, kept building those muscles my whole life. So I'm super keyed in, even if I don't understand the why, um, or the what's going on cosmically. And this shift has been really interesting between the wood snake and the fire horse for me. Last week, in the final days of the wood snake, it was a major, major, major shedding of energies that have been stagnant in my life for years, and just like unbudging, stagnant stuff that I think I told you, Tammy, but I'll share this vulnerably with all of you guys. Um, so, uh, my best friend died like several years ago, and he was a brilliant composer that made light-filled music to heal the world. And since he died, I haven't been able to listen to his music at all. Like, I just couldn't bring myself to go there. But his birthday was last week, and I was like, okay, I'm finally ready for this. And I opened up my heart to it, and I listened to his music, and it just shed these huge layers of grief and stagnation. And I just, boom, 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 like peeling off onion layers. And like, that's just one example of it. Like, it was a whole week of like, whoa, moving through shedding stuff really, really fast. And even now, so now this is days later, we're into the fire horse, and the energies are shifting all over again. And I'm finding a lot right now of, like passions ignited and moving quickly towards what I'm building and towards what I'm wanting. But I'm also noticing a lot of interpersonal relationship stuff that's coming up as like this needs to be addressed, but it's not time to do it yet. So like prepare yourself and get ready for it, and open up your heart for deep listening and resolution, and then just set it over here for now. So I'm not sure what that's about, but it's like a lot of that in a lot of different directions. And I don't know if anyone's feeling any of that stuff, but that's coming up for me in big ways.
Yeah, I feel like so, the morning of the annular solar eclipse just 2 days ago, that sun and moon were exact. I believe it was 7:12 a.m. Eastern time, and the eclipse itself was not visible here where we are in southwestern Pennsylvania. But we certainly feel those energies. But I really had this tremendous visual. You know, it's oops, Macklin fell off, so he'll probably come back. But at any rate, astrology builds on itself. This is not a one day thing, and there's not an immediate. So that's why integration is important. But, all of this leading up to this moment, we had Pluto, Osiris, transformation, death and rebirth move into Aquarius just over a year ago. And that went with that wood snake energy. It was about 2 or 3 months before the wood snake started. And, I personally did loads of dissolving. Shedding is similar, dissolving is even different. It's a coagulation and solve of alchemical processes. And fire is another huge component of alchemy. And that's where we can really burn away the dross and be left with the alchemical gold. But in that morning, I just had such an amazing visual of the ring of fire that is created by an annular eclipse. A total solar eclipse, the moon completely covers the sun for a period of time. An annular eclipse creates a ring of fire, and I could just see this fire horse jumping through the ring of fire, and it just felt very dramatic. And also, a lot of people I know that were supposed to come to our goddess gathering were all, for different reasons, being called to either address family issues that were blowing up or personal issues that were blowing up, and feeling a need to go within a lot more than to come together for the purpose of setting intentions. Tomorrow, as we sit in space and time, we have an incredibly rare occurrence of an exact Saturn Neptune conjunction as they have both transitioned to new signs. All of our outer planets, our slow moving outer planets, are changing into new signs in an 18-month period. Astrologers are not sure if that's ever happened before. It's very rare. And for these two powerful archetypes to meet up at 0 degrees, the beginning of the whole zodiac. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. And Aries is a fire sign. It's a cardinal fire sign. It's ruled by Mars. Mars was conjunct this eclipse along with Venus and Mercury. So it's all of this together that's creating this potency for what you and I are releasing to make the space. We had to have the shedding and the dissolving, the death part of the transformational cycles to make space. You can't move into a new house if somebody left all their old dirt and things in there. You have to clear it out to be able to move in. So on an energetic level, that's what's been happening. Some lesser talked about things that are happening that I feel great importance with right now, and the energies that I personally really want to maximize. Mercury is the planet closest to the sun, the fastest moving planet. Most people have heard of Mercury retrogrades because there is a lot of hype around them. They happen 3 times per year, and we really do feel that impact a lot. So we have Mercury now in Pisces. The sun has just moved into Pisces. Neptune and Saturn have just moved out of Pisces. We have just moved out of the 2000-year Piscean age and into the Aquarian age, which was largely signified by that Pluto moving into Aquarius. So I find all this relevance, like we're in the little 30-day Aquarius cycle and having an eclipse at the final degrees, the analytical, it's like the pressure cooker degrees of that sign, as we've just moved into the greater 2000-year new aeon of Aquarius. So this with Mercury and Pisces, and it's going retrograde very soon. I should have looked up the date of that. Do you have a sec to look up the date of when Mercury actually goes retrograde?
Yeah, I think it's in a week, but yeah, I'll look it up.
So, but Mercury in Pisces, Pisces is a water sign. It's a very emotional sign. But what Mercury, the planet of communication, ruled by Tehote, the ancient scribe of Egypt, who's thought to be the keeper of our archives, our Akashic records and things like that. But what Pisces is doing is making us a receiver, amplifying our ability to be a receiver of non-linear communication. So, oh wow, so the Mercury retrograde begins on February 26th with a pre-retrograde shadow that we are square in right now. That is actually started on February 11th. So really during this whole eclipse, we were already in that shadow period. But that means that our thoughts are not neat, logical lines, nor are they meant to be. Everything is a spiral. So I feel like having Mercury retrograde in Pisces, our thoughts are going to swirl and spiral and show up in ways that feel more intuitive and even telepathic, and that is going to begin to feel very natural for more of us. We are inherently intuitive beings. Our intuitive receptors, which is primarily our pineal gland, which is directly related to our third eye, our connection to our higher self, has been under attack, like everything else, by the fluoride in the water to calcify the pineal gland. So I think it's very important to do energetic clearing of the pineal gland. But um, so you may find yourself now coming into a place where you are just understanding without needing to logically, pour through it or weigh things mentally. You'll just know that you know. And I think more of us are really going to come into that. And we're going to feel right away the solution to an idea. And I think this is really exciting and why I wanted to dive into this piece. So, like allowing feelings and solutions to arise from a place beyond ordinary thought, but not questioning it or second guessing it, which is what I have done historically, oftentimes. Something comes through and you're like, but how, but why, but where's your certification? Where's your validation? And we don't need that. As a species, we are growing out of relying on logic alone. That is the point we talked about already of this heart mind coherence. And again, it is hugely backed by science. The work that Joe Dispenza is doing with measuring energy in a room. I know you have something to share.
I do, yeah. So with the logic mind and the heart center and the feeling, and what's coming up for me in this conversation is so there's, I don't know where the line is where people are become uncomfortable, but like I know it's a spectrum in, we have our minds and we have our hearts and we have our feelings, but like we have these five senses and we experience information through our five senses. And then internally, we have five psychic senses that mirror them. Um, and all of that is real and all of that is valid. So you said when you know, like you just know, and that's one of the senses, that just knowing,
That's
right?
the cognizance, just knowing that you know, I believe.
Yeah, and it's related to our what's it, auditory digital, where that's our inner voice, where we tell, it's like the words, our self-talk. So
Mhm.
that's what that's related to. So we have our inner vision, right? And we could see things. It could be like a movie screen. It could be an image, a symbol. It could be like looking at something directly and seeing it like through our actual physical eyes, right? And then we have our feelings, which it's related to our touch on the outside of our bodies, but it's also related to our emotions and our emotional center. And there are tons of different ways to feel things. Um, so yeah, each of our senses has a psychic sense attached to it internally also. And those are all ways to process information and to know. So, and we could hear it and we could, yeah, you get it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I mean. Like, really want to utilize this space to take things from being woo-woo or not understood to um, actually like making it everyday, normal practice that we can hone. So, yeah, so that's exactly how with our psychic senses. In fact, I have a great tool sitting right here. It's from the Intentional Healing Systems, Amy Moskow's work, um, where she uses sacred geometry along with crystal technology, intentions, affirmations, and visualizations to rewire and reprogram our subconscious. And this is a diagram of our psychic receptor network. And tapping points to actually tune into them and hone them. So there is a uh, affirmation that goes along with these. Just a second, I just had it. It's I believe it's I'm receiving the translation of light language in the clearest and most comfortable manner. So yeah, so there are really physical, tangible sciences behind these things. So Macklin, you fell away, and we were talking about one of the energies astrologically that is maybe not in the limelight as much with the big eclipse and the big Saturn Neptune, we had Mercury stationing to go retrograde during that eclipse. And we're in that station period now, and it will go retrograde in Pisces on the 26th. And that is really bringing to us all naturally allowing for these things to come in non-linear, non-logical ways, and just trusting that we know through our psychic receptors, and this becoming more and more available to all of us. And the science behind it. So it's like your ability to receive this intuitive information is greatly upgraded. It's like you are able to upgrade your antenna. Like we're all getting a natural upgrade to our receptors and our antenna. And then when you actually focus on that, then it expands. And yeah, so that these downloads suddenly begin to really just make sense. And again, we're not questioning them. And we have also got Jupiter, the planet of expansion, is trining Mercury during this. So Mercury is bringing us this emotional intelligence and ancestral wisdom. Jupiter is then expanding all of that, expanding your bandwidth so that you can quietly and powerfully put these things into practice. And the sun also being in Pisces is really illuminating all of this, bringing it to the forefront for us. And bringing our awareness to it, which makes that intuitive information legible and able to be shared then with others. You'll be able to make solid decisions based on the intuitive downloads that you receive. And the Piscean themes surfacing now, as I find it fascinating. We talked about Pluto going into Aquarius and that marking the entrance of the age of Aquarius from the age of Pisces. I feel like we witnessed a lot of the shadow of the Piscean age, and this particular annual transit of the sun through Pisces is highlighting the light attributes, and we're able to use all that as fertilizer and integrate it now. As also the nodes of the moon are switching from Pisces Virgo to Aquarius Leo. So there's just example of this shift and this now shift and all of this energy that we have. And if we choose, to really integrate it, it really fertilizes our future endeavors. Anybody have some thoughts on all of that? So I can go on. I've got,
Yeah, it feels like nowadays there are so many, like, this is the first time ever, or this is the first time in a really long time. And like it just keeps happening, like month after month after month. It's like this is the biggest, this thing, and this is the biggest this thing. And even just with the weather, you're like, this is the biggest snow we've ever had, and this is the hottest year on record. And it's like like it keeps on getting crazier and crazier. What a wild time to be alive.
yeah.
And then
Yeah.
something that was coming up for me too, in the NLP, the neuralistic programming, with the senses and the psychic senses, there, and the chart that you showed, with the affirmate and doing the affirmations and the visualizations and all the pieces of that, the belief change technique has been super fascinating to me because we map out the blueprint of the submodalities, and the submodalities are just what the senses are saying to you. So what you do is you hold a belief, and the belief change is it's a whole process. You take a belief that you don't want, I don't want this belief anymore. And you map out the submodalities. So it's like you close your eyes and you get an image for it. And what does that image look like? Where is it located? Is it, right in front of you?
Mm.
Is it off to the side? How close? How far? Where is it? Is it panoramic or is it in a frame? Is it colorful? Is it black and white? Is it bright? Is it dim? And then you go through all the visual pieces, then you go through the auditory pieces. Does it make a sound? Is that sound internal or external? What does it sound like? Where's the sound coming from? Does it have any feelings attached to it? How does it feel? Where is that in your body? Is it hot or is it cold? What's the intensity on a scale of 1 to 10? And then what do you tell yourself? Like whenever you have this image and this belief, what are the words that you're saying? So you map out all these submodalities that are attached to your senses. So this is what it looks like in your subconscious file cabinet when you have something that like this is something that you don't want to believe. Here are the submodalities, and then you get something that you used to believe but don't believe anymore. And what are those submodalities? And then you change it. So if something that I used to believe that I don't believe anymore, maybe that's black and white, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, and then you change what you don't want to believe to match that so that it gets filed in a different part of your subconscious. And then you replace it with something that you do want to believe. But it's fascinating that, like the psychic senses, the senses, how we filter all of our information through all of that, and where people's comfort levels are with, like, and how we listen to ourselves or don't listen to ourselves or second guess it, like you were saying.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, it makes me think a lot about how you were speaking previously, Tammy, about people who might not be into the woo woo, or they might be a little bit skeptical of things like this, but then you can just point them in the direction of the cymatics. If you start talking about frequencies and that's a little too much for them, or if you start talking about manifestation and changing your thought patterns by speaking, it's like, well, look at the placebo effect, or like all of these different things. There is science behind it. It's just not something that a lot of people talk about in scientific communities, I guess I should say, like all the time. But it is something that clearly is there, clearly has been known about for a long time. Like I personally don't know a lot about astrology because it's so expansive that it's just not something I've dipped my toes in personally. But again, the community of it all, where I can learn by osmosis of just being around people who are enjoying and find the fascination in it. And it's almost like finding the right teacher, right? Just being around that person and the way that they speak might touch something in me where I'm like, oh, now I feel more passionate about it.
Mhm.
And I think that's like a really big important about these conversations for sure.
Yeah, agreed. And one of the big Aquarian themes is community. So, moving into the Aquarian age is really supporting, and it's like this is a really good example because another topic I wanted to kind of touch on is like 2025 for all of us, as a loose date, expanding a little bit beyond that because, I agree more with the timing of the lunar new year, but that snake, that shedding, that dissolving really put all of us into the chrysalis, into what I call the pupa supa, like you got to dive into it, what you're dissolving. Like if we're dissolving ourselves, a lot of that is waste, that's dissolving away. So I have a lot in Scorpio. I have my rising conjunct Venus in Scorpio, along with Mars and Jupiter. So I am always on a path of transformation and deep diving. And so I've learned to be comfortable in what I call the cosmic womb or the pupa supa, two very different ways of describing the same type of element. And another way that most people can understand that is what happens in the chrysalis. And I mean, I know so many people who were not planning to change, but their apartment was, ripped out from under them the same week their business location was, and just like, okay, well, now I'm homeless and I have nowhere to work. So where am I going next? No, it doesn't have to
Yeah.
be that dramatic, but that does happen when you ignore the prompts to make the changes, when you are not writing your intentions and really imagining at the very least the world you want to create for yourself, then change does happen to you, you know? So I'm all about learning to be the master of the changes, staying in tune with ever changing energies, and then acting upon it. And again, like being the change. But literally, I feel like the whole world was put into a chrysalis in one way or another. And now we've got this fire horse chariot that is like poised and ready to go. But if we get on it without a destination in mind, you know, so we need to come out of the haziness, the dreaminess of the Neptune, the ruler of the waters, the oceans, the dream time in its own sign of Pisces. And now that Neptune is moving into the Mars ruled first sign of the zodiac, action oriented, along with a fire horse ready to take us where we want to go. So it's like, though, I think we really need to hone in on where we want to go before we dare to get on that saddle, as you mentioned. And I see this horse pulling a chariot, you know, so we can bring a few things along with us. And yeah, so it's that energy of going from, you know, the dreaming into real energy for a quantum leap, even forward, into like more and more people opening up to these kinds of ideas and practices. I believe we are fully capable as multidimensional spirit beings having a human experience. We are very capable of quantum leaps. In other words, you know, we can bypass some of the long times that it would take to go through processes of, just a perfect example, I'm going to take this limiting belief and I'm going to bring it in, and just to go to a place where I imagine that we've got our 120 acres of land in the Laurel Highlands, and the beautiful bubbling streams are creating ponds for swimming, and I hear the laughter of the children and the adults in the community, and everything is growing and the sun is shining, and we're living it. And how do I feel? And by focusing on that feeling, we're able to really use that as the fuel to increase the speed of the manifestation, which can result in a quantum leap. And I feel like that's the energy that we're in right now. And ways to integrate that, bring it home, and actually make it more tangible. I think the integration is super important. And you think about these big events, okay, this big event, the Saturn Neptune, this eclipse, and you think there's good. I even thought like this year on my birthday on January 3rd, I was just going to be like, woohoo, I'm new and I'm reformed and I'm ready. And no, there's still a process, you know, of going from here to there. And so I started feeling more into the subtle, somatic, you know, internal little shifts to like focus on and to integrate. So it's the both and.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think all of us, like everyone's spiraling. And I know I'm not who I used to be, and you're not who you used to be. Like even just the three of us right here from the time that I met you guys, you're different people, and I'm a different person. And yeah, and when we came on earlier, I was saying I feel like I'm in a video game and I keep just leveling up. Bloop, 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 bloop.
Yeah. And I feel like I am not.
Yeah, it makes me. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, yeah, like how a lot of people were on the New Year because they were like talking about the end of the snake year already when there was still like a month and a half left, and someone pointed out that the end of the shedding of the snake is sometimes the most painful and sometimes the most violent part about it. So people were like, oh, it's going to be easy now, it's all done, and it's like, no, the ending is usually the hardest part once you finally get rid of everything. But yeah.
Absolutely. And I felt that tangibly, that last stuff to shed, like that last week before the new year, I was really in the changes, and feeling a lot of emotions, and learning to feel them and notice them and process them and release them, so that we're not clinging to anything. And I also am like okay, or at least becoming more okay with I'm not who I was, and I'm not quite sure who I'm becoming. And a lot of us really want and need some level of certainty. Most of us, I feel like, will cling to even like a job that we hate because we know we'll be able to pay the bills. Um,
Yeah.
I'm not that person, but um, but at any rate, so many really want certainty, and these are times where we must be willing to surrender the how and even the outcome in order to really maximize these potent energies for creating what's new.
Yeah, and I
Mm.
think that's a whole other conversation
Next,
that that faith in ourselves, faith to trust, like that's a whole big thing in so many different directions. But
absolutely. So to wrap up here, I think we're coming up on time. I'm not sure exactly how long we've been going, but um, ways of integrating through self-care. So, so, so important. And self-care is like a million things and different for each one of us. But a couple of things that I feel like are vital, especially now. I think that, we are all deeply connected and intertwined with these devices. It rarely leaves my hip. It sits beside me when I sleep, oftentimes playing Brian Scott's, reprogramming things, which are very, very helpful for me. I had a lot of reprogramming to do. And yesterday I took my walk without my phone. So I think it's really important that we consciously choose to separate ourselves from our devices. Yeah, sure, I could fall in the woods and hit my head. Okay, well, 100 years ago, you didn't have a phone. You know what I mean? The excuses that may pop up that make you, well, I might want to take a picture. I might be inspired. Blah, blah, blah. No, leave your device and go out in nature and immerse yourself in the elements. We are elemental beings. I am bringing back my yoga hikes this year. It is my signature creation. It's the ways that I practice yoga since 1996 in nature. But like to immerse yourself in the elements is different than being outside. It's, recognizing that, earth my body, water my blood, air my breath, and fire my spirit. And the sun, is the fire. And, the mist in the air. We've had some wonderful foggy days, so you've got the water and air mixing, and we're mostly water. So, like laying on the grass, bare feet on the grass, even in cold weather, touching the bark, hugging the tree, getting your hands in the soil, immerse yourself in the elements, different than just going out in nature. Um, Acknowledge source, the source of all creation, the universe, your relationship. I am one with the source of all creation. That's one of my longest running intentions. And the universe wants to respond and does respond when we ask. We can't ask for too much, but we do have blocks. That's why we haven't all received everything that we've asked for, but it is waiting for us because when we ask, Source wants to deliver it. So spending time really on your relationship with Source, that could be God, that could be, whatever you think of Source energy. And then the last one I have, well, I have more, and then we'll ask you guys what you have. We talked about this already, but surrendering mental control and consciously focusing on that, giving the mind a rest. Meditation can be challenging because it is difficult to control the fluctuations of the mind. That's the second sutra in yoga. Let us cease the fluctuations of the mind. That means throw this device away, get quiet. When thoughts arise, you notice them and you release them, and it's a practice. And then practical things, simple things like taking a bath, doing a body scrub, doing a face mask, putting some oil in your hair, going to the sauna, going to a yoga class, reading a book, getting more books, time alone, and art are all the ways that I have of and I would love everybody to choose some of these and make a commitment to them. What else do you got?
Yeah, I love all of those things. And for me, my self-love practice recently, my most recent self-love practice is to follow my bliss, to do more of the things that light me up and that make me really happy, no matter what they are, building those into my everyday life.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, I really resonate with just trying to tune in to ourselves and trying to. I mean, I'm someone who is very quick to tune out. I think probably because of sensitivities to things, because I'm like overly sensitive to energies and stuff, and I will very quickly grab my phone, or I will very quick like I in the last few months I stopped smoking marijuana, and I think that was a big thing that I used to tune out, to not feel things so strongly. And when I was young, I was on ADHD meds for however many years, and that probably helped me tune out and things like that. So it's something that it kind of leaning into the uncomfortable sometimes is self-care for me, because I know at the end of the leaning I'm going to get past that little hurdle or big hurdle or whatever it may be. But it's so easy nowadays to just, as soon as something is uncomfortable, we just grab our phone or we turn on the TV, or it's very easy to do now, and it's honestly probably easier than it ever was to tune out from the human rhythm. But that just means it's that much more important for us to do the opposite, for us to do what is human, which is to connect to ourselves and to the planet and to each other.
Love it.
You know,
Really love that. I love all of this. I love, the pieces that we all bring, the ingredients in the soup, and it's really a little microcosm of what our beautiful regenerative community will look like, be like, and feel like as we manifest it together.
Yeah, thank you both. It's really nice to connect with you guys. Feeling grateful.
I'm gonna
yeah,
also
glad to be here.
I'm going to share something in the link in our description. Christine Simmons and I, on the new moon, for the new moon gathering, Christine is an acupuncturist in Chinese medicine, and every year writes something up about the Lunar New Year. So she shared some energy about that. I shared some astrology, and then we moved it into some really powerful, beautiful meditations. And I think it could be useful if somebody wants an additional resource to dive into. I'm going to share a link to that in the description. And our next conscious conversation will be on March March 19th. So
That's my birthday.
oh, it's your birthday. So we're gonna have a birthday party for Elizabeth. That will
Nice.
be right around the real new year for me, the spring equinox, the vernal equinox. I am wanting to produce a retreat, probably to Serpent Mound. I'm really feeling a call to go back to Serpent Mound. So just planting that seed for both of you if you want to kind of join me and like just committing to like, yes, that sounds great, helping me invite some folks. Very powerful energy there. And yeah, the themes, springtime themes are often around seeds of intention, spirit of love, nurturing our seeds, both the intention seeds and the seeds that we're getting ready to plant in fertile soil. So yeah, please join us for the next Conscious Conversations, March 19th. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And I don't mean just here, I mean here in human form, in the confines of these bodies now during this amazing time. Love you both.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Love you all.
Mhm.
Okay, bye for now.
See
Well,
you guys.